This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The Iraqi President Jalal Talibani said that he wants some United States troops to remain in Iraq and establish 2 Air Force bases in the region of Kurdistan in order to prevent foreign intervention in the country's internal affairs. He added that he had requested the redeployment of 10,000 American soldiers and not 100,000.
There are nearly 147,000 U.S. troops in Iraq, and the number is not expected to go down, at least not until the middle of next year. Meanwhile, the Iraqi President Jalal Talibani disclosed a new plan that will determine the future of U.S. troops in Iraq. In an interview with the Washington Post, Talibani said that he wants some U.S. troops and their military bases to stay in Iraq for a long time. Talibani wants 10,000 U.S. troops and 2 military bases to remain in Iraq. The U.S. forces will be redeployed along the Kurdistan's mountains in northern Iraq in order to provide security along the borders. However, Talibani's request is moving towards a showdown at the Iraqi parliament. A few days ago, more than 104 Iraqi parliament members approved an initiative that will identify a timetable for the withdrawal of all foreign troops from Iraq. Meanwhile, the U.S. administration and the Sunni Arabs welcome Taliban's plan, saying that it will counterbalance the Iranian threat that may expand should the American troops withdraw from Iraq. During a recent visit by the Iraqi Prime Minister Noor al-Maliki to Iran, Tehran vowed to guarantee the security of Iraq should the American military forces withdraw from there. These statements and counter-statements reflect the complexity of the Iraqi problem, and they also show the effects of foreign intervention in Iraq and the turmoil that their withdrawal may cause.
The police in Basra arrested a large group of criminals who carried out a series of killings and kidnappings of citizens there. The criminals confessed to accusations made against them and are being held pending their trial.
Many criminal suspects were arrested. They are charged with carrying out kidnappings, stealing cars, dealing drugs, and killing innocent civilians, as well as committing fraud and smuggling sheep and petroleum byproducts across the country's borders.
We have contacts with a group in Kuwait, and we made a contact with them. We are part of another group in Al-Nasiriyah. The police raided our hideout. We have forged documents so we can smuggle sheep.
How many members are in your group?
We are 3.
These are forged identification cards, aren't they?
Yes, they are forged documents.
Civilians cooperate by providing information about suspicious people, which has helped the security authorities to arrest perpetrators quickly and accurately. Citizens seem to be cooperating because terrorism and criminal gangs are foreign concepts to Iraqi society.
There are different groups and some are nationals of different countries.
The security authorities have intensified their cooperation with civilians in order to pursue criminals and eliminate crimes in an effort to stop the spread of this dangerous phenomenon. Mohammed Adani, Al-Iraqiya, Al-Basra.
Religious clerics and civilians condemn terrorism, especially during the holy month of Ramadan. They say that such acts of terrorism reflect the criminal essence of terrorist gangs.
This is not a scene from a movie. Rather, it is a bitter reality, which has been leaving behind pain and sadness. This reality is being authored by the terrorists, who are leaving a blemish of their shameful crimes on history, especially as we begin the blessed month of Ramadan.
Terrorists are the tools of those who hate Islam and who want to try to stop the spread of Islam or the greatness of Islam from spreading all over the world. However, they are conspirators and God is the greatest of planners.
Hopes are not realized, flesh is being scattered everywhere, and hearts are aching with pain. The families of the martyrs who died during Ramadan expressed their sadness over these tragic incidents, which have changed their expectations of this month.
We hope that this Ramadan would be one of worship and that we would be able to relax a little bit. But it seems that those who commit these acts are not true Muslims.
They have absolutely no humanity and no monotheistic values. These are cowardly acts that target innocent people, especially at the beginning of this holy month.
The blood of innocent Iraqi civilians is being shed. This first day of Ramadan in Iraq is different from how it is being celebrated in other countries. Other countries are festive. Here, the Iraqi public is angry about the situation.
Terrorists believe in takfiri ideologies which are un-Islamic. This also happened in other religions. I do not know where they came up with this ideology.
These explosions that are committed by the Takfiri groups and Saddamists during the month of Ramadan distort the image of Islam in Western and Islamic countries. Ramadan is a month of tolerance.
No monotheistic faith or religion has ever approved the killing of unarmed, innocent civilians during the greatest month. It is a malicious attempt by terrorists to strike at the heart of Islam and Muslims.
Iraqiya, Baghdad.
After 4 decades, the Lebanese army is finally deploying on Lebanon's southern border with Israel as negotiations are underway to finalize the last phase of Israel's latest withdrawal. Sarah Houdi has the story.
The final touches are being executed before the last step by Israeli troops back behind their side of the border. A meeting is expected in the coming hours between Lebanese, Israeli and UNIFIL officials with the aim of finalizing Israel's complete withdrawal from Lebanon. Meanwhile, in a historic move, the Lebanese army, with the backing of the Blue Helmets, was positioning itself in Ras Na'ura, Labuni, Mahaybib, and Hula. It is the first time in 40 years that the army bases itself on the border with the Jewish state. Lebanese Marines were also on the move as they reached the port of Na'ura over the weekend. Israel's final withdrawal was to have taken place last week, but was postponed, and according to Lebanese Defense Minister Elias Mour, UN Secretary General's representative to Lebanon, Ger Pedersen, said Israeli troops will be out by this coming Friday. On the ground, it was business as usual for the 5,000 UNIFIL troops as they were arriving and settling on the blue line. They also continued to receive top European officials. This time it was Belgian Defense Minister André Flahot who headed to the village of Tibnin in southern Lebanon yesterday to survey the area where Belgian troops will be positioned when they arrive to join the UNIFIL peacekeepers. Flahot arrived in Beirut early on Sunday, where he first met with his Lebanese counterpart, Mour, and confirmed the arrival of Belgian troops on September 27. The Belgian official said he hoped his country's troops would play a useful role in the region and that they came to the area as friends. More than 300 Belgian troops will arrive in the next few days to fulfill their task of demining, providing medical help, and helping with reconstruction. The expanded UNIFIL 2 force could eventually reach 15,000 troops to join a similar number of Lebanese army troops in the south under the Security Council resolution that halted the fighting on August 14th.
Lebanon will lose about $2 billion in tourism revenues this year due to a month-long war. But Tourism Minister Joseph Sarkis is hoping the 15,000-strong UN peacekeeping force will help revitalize the industry. Sarkis is counting on parents, other relatives and friends of the troops to boost visitor numbers. Sarkis, who said he expected around $10 million a month in revenues from UNIFIL soldiers' personal expenditure in southern Lebanon, was already receiving requests for license permits to open restaurants, clubs and coffee shops in the area. In an interview with Reuters, Sarkis said he had been expecting over 1.6 million tourists to visit Lebanon this year, and on the eve of July 12, around 730,000 tourists had already come to the country. Sarkis said he expected 300,000 to 350,000 tourists in the 4 months to December, provided stability continued and improved. He stressed seasonal festivities, including Eid al-Fitr, Muslim feast in late October, should help in the recovery. In response to statements by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his foreign ministers Walid al-Muallim on Syria's readiness for peace negotiations with Israel, Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert's office said the circumstances were not mature enough to negotiate with Syria. It added that, according to U.S. messages, Syria is accused of transferring weapons to Iraq, supporting Hezbollah and other Palestinian organizations. Earlier, Israeli Defense Minister Amir Peretz said Syria was the key to stability in the Middle East, adding that the door to negotiations with Damascus remained open. But in radio comments on Saturday, Peretz stressed that Israel must be ready to face any threat from Syria, which could escalate rapidly throughout the region. As Pope Benedict XVI told Muslim envoys at an unprecedented talks in Italy that interreligious dialogue was vital for the future, other stories are developing on the international scene. Sarah Khouri reports.
The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency paid Pakistan millions of dollars for handing over more than 350 suspected Al-Qaeda terrorists to the United States. Comments made by Pakistani President Pervez Musharraf and reported in the British daily The Times. The assertions come in the military ruler's upcoming memoir, In the Line of Fire, serialized in The Times. Musharraf does not reveal how much Pakistan was paid for the 369 Al-Qaeda suspects he ordered should be handed over to the United States, the newspaper said, noting, however, that such payments are banned by the U.S. government. Meanwhile, Washington claims it did not threaten to bomb Pakistan back to the Stone Age after the September 11th attacks, but a Pakistani official may have distorted U.S. resolve to press Islamabad for help. Top U.S. officials dismissed a French intelligence memo leaked to the media that Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden died recently in Pakistan of typhoid fever. The French intelligence memo, published Saturday in the French regional newspaper L'Est Républicain and Sunday in Le Parisien, claimed that the Saudi intelligence service concluded that bin Laden succumbed to typhoid fever while hiding in Pakistan. French President Jacques Chirac, as well as Pakistani and Afghan officials, distanced themselves from the report, saying that it could not be confirmed.
The Saudi diplomatic initiative launched 4 years ago and calling for Israel to return to the 1949 armistice lines could return to the international spotlight. This following the reports of contacts between Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and the Saudi royal family. And that could threaten Israel's national security, according to Dr. Dori Gold, former Israeli ambassador to the United Nations. Dr. Gold is the author of a New York Times bestseller entitled Hatred's Kingdom, How Saudi Arabia Supports Global Terror. He spoke earlier today with IBA's Dan Diker.
Necessary to draw a distinction between high-level Israeli contacts with Saudi representatives, which according to Yediot Achronot occurred, and accepting the Saudi peace initiative from a few years back. It is always a positive development when Israel broadens the scope of its diplomatic relations in the Arab world, under the assumption that this leads to greater acceptance of Israel in the region. However, the Saudi peace plan from a few years ago calls for a full withdrawal of Israel from all the territories captured in the Six-Day War, including East Jerusalem. Imagine if Israel withdrew from the Jordan Valley at a time when Iran and Hezbollah are trying to push huge amounts of weaponry into southern Lebanon and into the Gaza Strip. We would have the same problem of anti-tank missiles, shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles, and Katyusha rockets 5 minutes from Petah Tikva, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem, and not just in our north and in our south.
Perhaps from Omar's point of view, there is an internal logic in Israel joining some sort of conservative Sunni coalition of Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan against Iran at this juncture.
First of all, I'm not sure it's in Israel's interest to get involved in an Islamic civil war between the Sunni and the Shia. And second of all, the Sunni world has its own problems. Saudi Arabia is a country which has been accused up until recently, in fact in August 2006, of financing Al-Qaeda. And therefore, when Israel gets involved with Saudi Arabia, it has to act very judiciously and very cautiously, that it isn't giving any kind of political credit to a country which hasn't yet cut itself off from funding terrorism outside of its borders.
Saudi Arabia itself has suffered from Al-Qaeda terrorism as recently as 2003.
You're certainly correct that in May 2003, there was a massive Al-Qaeda attack in Riyadh, which caused Saudi Arabia to begin an internal campaign against Al-Qaeda within its borders. But with respect to the activities of Al-Qaeda outside the borders of Saudi Arabia, there's substantial evidence that Saudi financing has been involved in the insurgency in Iraq, in Islamic insurgencies elsewhere, such as the southern Philippines, and in Chechnya. And of course, Israel has reams of evidence to show that Saudi Arabia was involved in financing Hamas and in moving money to the families of suicide bombers, which only incentivized the phenomenon of suicide bombing attacks against the citizens of Israel.
In your assessment, is the Saudi royal family directly involved in funding Al-Qaeda terrorism today?
Let me give you a specific example. On August 3rd, 2006, the U.S. Department of Treasury issued a press release which accused the IIRO of funding Al-Qaeda through two branches in Indonesia and in the Philippines. Now, the IIRO is the International Islamic Relief Organization. It's the operative arm of the Muslim World League. Go to the website in Arabic of the Muslim World League. Who stands at the head of the Muslim World League? It's the Saudi Grand Mufti, who's a member of the Saudi cabinet. Therefore, these large charities that have been involved in terrorist financing are not NGOs or private initiatives. They are GOs. They're government organizations. Therefore, yes, the Saudi royal family has been behind terrorist financing.
After Israel ended its siege on Lebanese ports, the Lebanese fishermen of Tyre were able to go out to sea once again. However, Israeli warships have been violating Lebanon's territorial waters and have attacked a number of Lebanese fishing boats near Ras al-Nakura, forcing them to flee.
ما لبث أن طلع فجر السبت حتى كان مرفأ صور يعود.
On Saturday, September 9th, the Tyre port was full of fishermen. It was the first time in 2 months that they were able to throw their fishing nets into the sea after Israel ended its siege on the Lebanese ports. Many fishermen even decided to spend the night at the port on Friday night in order to start their fishing day as early as possible. Some fishermen went to sea at 3 a.m. hoping that they would make up for the huge financial losses they had to endure, which some people estimated to be in the thousands of dollars.
التي تكبدوها وقدرها البعض بآلاف الدولارات.
يعني نحن بنقول يا خيي كتر خير الله.
Thank God that the Lebanese government has finally allowed us to go fishing. We have been unable to go fishing for the past 2 months. We could not do anything. Our equipment was ruined because it stayed under the sun. We lost thousands of dollars.
Most of the residents living on the coastal towns in southern Lebanon depend on fishing as their source of income. Israel's 8-week siege caused them great anguish. They are now hoping for a return to the way things used to be before the Israeli aggression, and that peace and stability would be reestablished.
وبإحلال السلام والاستقرار.
Hopefully things will calm down now, God willing, so that we can work and make a living.
عاد صيادو صور لمزاولة عملهم في
Tyre's fishermen have resumed fishing in the sea, but this time they are protected by international forces. A German team, which is part of the UNIFIL, the UN Interim Forces in Lebanon, will take charge of monitoring the coast of Lebanon, fulfilling a request made by the Lebanese government to the UN.
Head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, Reza Aghazadeh, says Iran is prepared to get into action and complete construction of Beshehr nuclear power plant in case the Russian side delays making the projects operational.
Visiting Iranian senior official told reporters following his meeting with head of Russia's Atomic Energy Agency, Sergei Kryenko, Monday, that Iran, however, considers as vital cooperation with Russia over Beshehr power plant and other joint ventures. The two sides further discussed setting the final date for making the first phase of Beshehr power plant operational and delivering nuclear fuel to Iran for the atomic power plant. Construction of 95% of the power plant facilities has been completed. The Russian side had said earlier the power plant will become operational in November 2007.
Pope Benedict XVI stressed that he has deep respect for all Muslims and called on them to enter in an honest and respectable religious dialogue. The Pope's comments came today after meeting with ambassadors from Muslim countries in an attempt to improve relations between Christians and Muslims. Rifat al-Najjar will provide us with more details.
During an extraordinary meeting between the Holy See and ambassadors from Muslim countries to the Vatican, as well as Muslim community leaders, Pope Benedict XVI called for the overcoming of historical sensitivities, ending intolerance, as well as the rejection of violence. He placed the responsibility on both Christian and Muslim political and religious leaders to achieve this goal. The Pope refrained from making comments about his previous lecture in Germany, which created a widespread anger in the Muslim world. Nevertheless, he did say that the widespread of anger was the reason behind this meeting.
The conditions that necessitated this meeting are clear to everyone. Last week, I had the opportunity to speak about the subject matter, but in this special meeting, I would like to reiterate my deep respect for the believers in the Muslim faith. Inter-religious dialogue between Christians and Muslims is not an option. It is vitally important because our future relations depend on it.
حقيقة كافية لتوضيح وجهة نظر. What he said was sufficient to clarify his view, though it was less than what every Muslim was hoping to hear. Islam is a religion of forgiveness and brotherhood among the lovers of peace, regardless of their ethnicities or religions. We, as peace advocates, hope that this matter will end here.
وبالتالي نحن كدعاة للسلام نرجو أن
The Pope expressed regret and repeated his explanations given in two speeches, delivered from the Pope's residence in Castillo Gandolfo and from St. Peter's Square. During this meeting with ambassadors from Islamic countries and Muslim community leaders, he stressed his deep appreciation and respect for Muslims. The Pope further added that the inter-religious dialogue between Christians and Muslims is strategically important for the future of the two sides in order to overcome all tensions and achieve successful cooperation.
The Pope concentrated on many important points, particularly devoting himself to cooperating with Muslims to help create a more tolerant world. He said that in a sincere way, and he meant what he said.
The meeting was considered a serious and sincere attempt to reach reconciliation between the Pope and fellow Muslims. The Pope wants to go beyond speeches and criticisms so he can begin focusing on the future, which is more important. He called on Muslims and Christians to cooperate in order to overcome all the tensions between them. Rifat al-Najjar, Al-Arabiya Television, Rome.
تتمتع أفغانستان بموسيقى شرقية أصيلة Afghanistan is known for its original Eastern music, which has its own history and great artists. This music had a beautiful past before it encountered a major setback when the Taliban movement banned music. Now, with some relative stability in the country, musicians who had fled their country from the Taliban regime have returned to revive the memories of the beautiful past, now that they have the capabilities and available instruments to play their music. Hamahang, or Professor Hamahang, is one of the many Afghan music professors who is still alive. He returned from Peshawar in Pakistan, where he had escaped to, along with hundreds of other Afghan musicians, after the Taliban movement took control of Kabul in 1996.
We fled from here and were left homeless. Some people escaped to Iran, while others went to Turkey, Pakistan, India, and many other countries. We were forced to flee to different places around the world. I fled to Peshawar. Even there, I faced many different kinds of threats.
After the Taliban reached the seat of power, it banned music and expelled musicians. Musicians were forced to escape to neighboring countries and other countries in the east and far west. They either carried their musical instrument with them, or they buried the instruments under their homes or in any place they could go back to upon returning to the country. This is Music Street in Kabul. It is both modest and poor. However, with the sound of original Afghan music, it is able to bring happiness to the hearts of millions of people. The street where musicians recently came to inhabit after their previous street, Karabat Street, was destroyed. Each side of the street is occupied by local Eastern music groups. Each group has its own room or small area not exceeding 10 square meters. There are also people who make musical instruments like Ahmed Jaweed, who inherited a music instruments atelier from his grandfathers.
I inherited this craft from my grandfathers, and it goes back about 300 years. This rababa instrument was made more than 200 years ago. I inherited it from my grandfathers.
This musical group makes a living by enlivening weddings and other happy occasions. This group, like the Afghan people, suffers from poverty and lack of income. Professor Hamahang reiterates his dissatisfaction towards the lack of attention to original Afghan music. He complains about how younger generations are attracted to loud Western music.
Original Afghan music is in bad shape. Yes, music has developed these days, but what music is this? Western music has invaded us, while original Afghan music remains ignored.
Nonetheless, the pure rhythms that the Afghan music is known for will always live in the hearts of those who love it. It will continue to make people happy and instill joy and happiness, especially in the hearts of the sad and distressed.
The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. Please visit linktv.org/Mosaic for more information about these broadcasters, or to view previous Mosaic programs, obtain program transcripts, or receive the weekly Mosaic Intelligence Report. Mosaic is made possible by a grant from the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation. Additional support is provided by the Firedoll Foundation, the Otto Haas Charitable Trust, and by committed Link TV viewers like you.
Is this the Iraq war you never see on American TV? Unfiltered, uncensored, unafraid to venture into uncharted territory? Now you can play an important role in keeping this Peabody Award-winning news digest on the air, delivering cutting-edge news from the Middle East. Become a member of the Mosaic Club today. From the basic membership to the producer circle, each level comes with unique gifts and privileges, including the Mosaic tote bag, and a weekly subscription to the Mosaic Intelligence Report, an e-letter highlighting the week's events in the region. Some members will receive a DVD of Occupied Minds, a journey into the heart of Israel and Palestine. or will recognize your important role by putting your name in the show credits. Some memberships include a tour of Link TV studios in San Francisco, invitations to special events, and lunch with Mosaic's producer. Join the Mosaic team. Help keep critical news from the Middle East on the air. Just log on to www.linktv.org/Mosaic Club to learn how you can join the Mosaic Club today.
This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.